Alrighty, we are live. I'm going to give a few minutes to allow everyone that is going to be tuning in to tune in. Just need to make sure this is streaming from my Facebook account. Sometimes it sets it to private, so people cannot see it for some reason. Or it could just be my own personal settings that account. Sometimes it sets it to private, so people. If you are just now joining us, please let us know where you are tuning in from. There are a few people that have logged in. If you are just now joining us, alrighty, for some reason it is echoing in the background. Oh my goodness. I am certain I do not have any Facebook. Alrighty, for some reason it is echoing in the background. Oh my goodness. All right, y'all, I am back. I am so sorry about that. I had my actual YouTube channel open in another tab, and that's why it was echoing. But anyway, let's get into it. If you're just now joining us, let us know where you are tuning in from. For those of you, if this is your first time watching, my name is Heather Courtney, and welcome to Unconventional Itinerary. I am the founder of Black in Portugal and the Lisboa Melanin Collective, and I have been living in Portugal now for 3 years as of Tuesday. So far, it has been an amazing journey, and I have been helping countless people move abroad, whether it's to Portugal, Mexico, Southeast Asia, just anywhere all over the globe. So for this particular live, I'm so excited to have Leroy Adams here. He is the founder and creator of Culture Travels Magazine, and I am going to bring him forward right now to the stage. Welcome,
Hello.
Leroy.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Every time I see you, you're just bubbling with joy. It's always a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. The last time we saw each other was in Madrid
Yes.
back almost a year ago. Oh my
Almost
goodness.
a year ago. Yeah. I think in October it'll be a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies. No, you know what? I think it was before because I left in September for Spain. So next month.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, next month. You're right. It was September. Man,
Yes.
dang, time does fly. That's crazy.
It does. It does. And I have been seeing all the amazing things that you have been doing on your end. So can you
Thank
just give
you.
us a little bit introduction about who you are and what you're doing?
Sure. Hey everyone, I am Leroy Adams, publisher and founder of Culture Travels magazine, and Culture Travels really sits at the intersection of travel and culture. It's a digital and print magazine, and we print every 3 months. And it's weird how this is always a difficult question to answer. What do you do? Tell us a bit about yourself. Um, but I'm just someone I am obsessed with travel and Black culture and how those two things intersect, and everything that falls under that sort of umbrella: fashion, culture, politics, sports, etc. And so I'm really sort of dedicated the next maybe 10, 20 years of my life to really exploring uh, the nuances of what happens when Black culture and travel intersect. And so, yeah, I decided to do that through media, and right now, specifically with the magazine.
Yeah, so your magazine is awesome. I'm still trying to get my hands on an actual
You know
copy.
what? Let me go ahead and send you this copy that's been sitting on my desk for you. I don't know how fast it'll get there because Lisbon and everything, but we'll make it happen.
I mean, listen, my mom is in the States right now. If you just want to send it to South Carolina right
Does
now,
she
I mean,
visit often?
excuse me?
Does she visit you often?
No, we haven't spoken in some time about my mom. She actually got her visa for Portugal, so now she's moving here.
What?
Yes, yes,
Yo,
yes.
congrats.
Yes, she just went back to the States to get the visa in her passport finally. And she will be back this upcoming week. And now it's time to search for a flat for her. So
Yo,
thank you.
that's just amazing. That
Yeah,
is so amazing and so dope to see. Congrats to y'all.
thank you. And it also kind of ties into your storytelling of how what you're doing is helping inspiring other people, no matter what age
Yeah, yeah,
or background, to travel and
yeah,
move abroad too.
yeah,
You know, my when I moved to Mexico, my mom was like against Mexico. There's like everyone's against Mexico, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah.
then when my mom came to visit, she was like, "Oh, okay, I think I like it
I get it
here."
now. Yeah, yeah.
And
It
next thing you know,
was
she moved. She moved to Mexico.
that's man, I think most Black travelers and expats share a similar story. Because when I studied abroad in Taiwan, my mom was like, "What the hell? No." And then, but I did it anyway, obviously. And then right after that, I got accepted into the Peace Corps in Ethiopia, and she and the rest of the family were like, ISIS is gonna get you, and why would you go over there? I'm like, first of all, do y'all even know what Ethiopia is? You don't,
Yeah,
because I had to Google it. So if I had to Google it, I know you don't know where it is.
yeah.
But then, fast forward a couple of years later, she is getting her visa and coming to visit me. When then at the time I was an expat in China, and she came to
Mm.
visit me, and that was the first time she had ever left the country. And imagine
Oh,
China being your
at that,
first international experience. It was a lot of things, man. But
wow.
it
And how?
happened.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
And how old was your mom when she came to visit the first time?
My mom was, I think, 53, 54
Okay.
when she came, when she finally, first got her visa, left the country, came to visit me out in China, 53, 54. And just similar to your mom, she was like, okay, I get it now. I see why this is so appealing to you, the freedom, the experiences, okay, I see. I'm not moving to China for you, but
Yeah.
I can see why you love this so much.
Yes, it is such an eye opener for our families to see
Mhm,
what life is like outside of America because we really don't know unless you go. And, me being against the school system and the whitewash books that were
mhm,
taught in elementary school through high school,
mhm,
it's just like America's the only dominating country out there. And all these other countries are underdeveloped or they say
mhm,
they're this way or that way. And when you go, you're just like,
mhm.
wow, like it's not what I expected because what
Yeah.
I expected was, false narratives
Mhm.
and whatever else America has taught us to believe about other countries.
Yeah, man. And one of the questions you shared with me as we're preparing for this interview really made me think of that very thing. What power do expats and what influence do expats and travelers have in helping our families and friends better understand the world? And it's because we're there and because you're having those experiences, you can help rewrite some of those narratives. And I think just within my example with Chinese people,
Mhm.
I had to help re-educate my family on, like, no disrespect, but not all Chinese people are walking around as rocket scientists.
Yeah.
Like, they're not all incredibly book smart. The ones,
Mhm.
the ones you're getting in the US are the well-offs, well-connected, well-resourced. So this idea that you're coming into China and you're treating these people because you see them as a certain way, you have to uproot that sort of Western thinking and then replace that with the actual experiences you're having on the ground. And I think a lot of that education comes from expats like yourself who are there day to day, learning the culture, learning the nuances of the people, and then are able to communicate that back in a way that's receptive to our
Yes.
families and friends.
Yes. Before we continue, I just wanted to say hello to Lucille, who said hi to both of us. Kelly Beard is tuning in from Los Angeles. And Lucille is tuning in from also the West Coast, Seattle,
Yes,
Washington. It's
that's
sunny
Seattle,
today.
Washington.
That's good because I hear it rains. It rains a lot. It's Jury
I
and
love Seattle.
Seattle. I've only been once, but
Really? I love
uh,
Seattle. I love LA too. LA
Wow.
is too expensive for my blood, but I love Seattle.
Yes. Okay. So, but I do want to add on to what you were saying about how we perceive Asians sometimes, at least growing up, at least, in Jersey,
Hmm.
Asian people were the smartest ones.
Yeah, yeah,
They're the
yeah,
ones that are getting straight A's that are, I'm just dropping everything today. What's going on? Drop my phone, drop the lip gloss. They're like the one acing it. They're the ones becoming these scientists, these doctors. And I'm just like, okay, maybe
yeah,
it's just like they're all smart because they have better schooling than us.
yeah,
But in
which is not
reality,
true.
they're
Yeah,
just normal people, just like
yeah.
us. Sometimes there are super smart Americans, and sometimes
Hmm.
there's super smart Asian people and
Hmm.
Latinx and
Hmm.
Africans. And we all learn at different levels. And some
Hmm.
people master it so well that
Hmm.
they excel, but it's not just the Asian
Yeah,
community that is labeled as like the
yeah,
smart ones.
yeah. And you like you said, you also have to consider, like I saw what, growing up in growing up in the States, and you grow up in this culture around public schools and private schools, and you
Hmm.
and you see how money and connections can
Yeah.
dictate which of those educational experiences you will have, private or public.
Hmm.
I went to a public school. Um, and then in China, I'm looking and I see that, but it's like on a different level, because it
Hmm.
seems like the parents in China, their cash flow is to no end.
Yeah.
So they're willing to spend six figures on the
Hmm.
education for their 5-year-old
Yeah.
child because the goal is to get that child to Harvard.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm going to invest 6, 7 figures into my child's education from pre-K all the way up to when they graduate high school. And then after that, then I'm going to ship them off to the US or Europe or wherever so they can get a formal education there. If you've someone that has been educated with those types of resources and that type of an environment, your chances of being a protege, if you will, or excelling exceptionally within the academic setting is substantial compared to someone who just does not have access to that type of money or resource. And so that's what you see a lot of in China. Parents paying 6 figures just to help their children learn English
Yes.
so that they can get ahead. Anybody can get ahead if they had those types of
Yes.
resources, you know.
Exactly. They'll have the best of the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Wow. I have some friends that taught in China too.
Mm,
And they love their time there. And now
yeah,
it's over. Some people want to go back. But just
yeah.
like hearing your stories of being a Black person, that's not on the whiter skin side, but on like the
Mhm.
darker skin side. Their stories are very eye-opening too. And it's kind of like, wow, people are doing this. This is what it's great. So I hope you'll be able to share that story. But I want to get on to the next question.
Okay.
Can you share some of your experiences as an expat that has shaped your sense of identity?
Yeah, I often start whenever I do get this question. I often um, share three very short stories
Mm,
that compelled me to take a step back and look at how my identity had been constructed on a global stage and the lack of power I had in that. And the first experience is, so I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Ethiopia, and
mm,
I lived. I was the first volunteer ever in my village, my town in Ethiopia, and I was in the northern part of Ethiopia, which is the Tigray region. It's about 60 kilometers from the Eritrean border, so there's a lot of refugees, a lot of UN sites, a lot of NGOs.
mhm.
And I remember one day I was in the teachers' lounge with my colleagues, and one of my closest friends, closest Ethiopian friend, said, Leroy Lodi, because they would never pronounce my name. It's always Lodi.
Yeah.
Lodi, you don't walk like a Black American. And I said, what? What does a Black American walk like? And so
Yeah.
he and several other teachers got up and they walked as if their pants were sagging. And I said,
Ah,
well,
there
where did
yeah.
you all get that? Because I didn't have locks at the time also.
Yeah.
Very important. Where do you get that? And they all pointed to the only little small box black and white TV we had. And they essentially just started to describe Lil Wayne. They said, the short guy with the locks and the diamond teeth. And I was like, damn, it is true. Like the
Wow.
media that is exported out of the US and how that
Mhm.
portrays Black Americans literally authors or carves our identity on the global stage, and we have no power in that.
Nope.
And then 2 weeks later, still in Ethiopia, I'm getting on a public bus, if you will,
Mhm.
and the guy that handles the tickets, the transaction, he asked me my name, and I said Lordy, so communication barrier, we can't, right? He looks down at the ticket, and he just scribbles something, and he looks up and he hands me my ticket, and the
Yeah.
name he wrote on the ticket was Lil Wayne. These are
Lil
two separate incidents, two
not
different
Lil
cities.
Wayne.
Lil Wayne, both, and I'm like, what in the world does all of Ethiopians think all Black Americans are just like
Oh my
variants of Lil Wayne or something? Like, what's going on here? And so those those particular experiences, and this is a Black country, right?
Mhm.
Taught me that, wow, we are only viewed as rappers or athletes. In Taiwan, I was Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
And then,
wow. All
yeah,
these rich people, are you getting their money?
right, right, man. And then, so Ethiopia, I moved to China, and 2 weeks into China, I'm working with my first grade class. And
Mhm.
one of my students, Apple, she walks up to the front of the classroom. We're going over the ABCs, and she walks up to the front of the classroom and she licks me from my wrist to my elbow twice.
Oh,
And I, initially I was like, these kids are fucking weird. Like, what's going on? But then I'm like, she did it again, and I'm like,
yeah.
does she
Just looking
think?
at your arm.
Just licking my arm. And so I walk out of the class and I call one of my friends, a Black dude who was working at a different school. I was like, yo, bro, it's a weird question. On purpose, are your students licking you? And he's like, well, someone told him that I was made of chocolate. So I rushed back into my office, and my Chinese colleague was like, yo, we would never, we would never. And turns out Apple's parents told her
Mhm.
that I was made of chocolate, because Apple would always cry whenever she had to come into my classroom. She had never seen a dark-skinned person before, let alone have one as a teacher. And so what that experience taught me was that when there's an information gap
Mhm.
in terms of what people know about you or
Yeah.
don't know about you, they will then fill that gap with whatever little pieces of information they have. And for them, it was, we don't know anything about Black people.
Yeah.
We have no direct experiences with you, but what we have heard is that you're not that educated. You can be scary,
Yeah.
right, and dangerous. So but you're going to be teaching my daughter. So how do I make my daughter comfortable around you?
Yeah.
And then also you couple that with the fact within Chinese culture, darker skinned Chinese people are treated like second class citizens.
Yeah. It's like the colorism.
The colorism. So the dehumanization
Mhm.
of people with darker skin is normal. So they had no issue dehumanizing me in order to make themselves and their daughter more comfortable. And so again, that experience taught me about the lack of power I
Mhm.
have in narrating my own story and constructing my identity on a global stage. I could not compete, or I didn't even know that I was competing with the American media machine and how that describes Black folk across the world. And
Yeah.
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 keep going.
And so from those experiences, I I knew that I wanted to create something that not only helped me construct my identity on a global stage in a very powerful way, but other Black folk, expats, and travelers as well. And from that, that sort of drive, if you will, birthed the very first company I started was Black Gen, and I started that in China. And Black Gen,
Mhm.
BLKGEN, was essentially a creative events brand. We organized creative events throughout Beijing and Shanghai for 2 years. Uh, Dance, film, spoken word, poetry, you name it. And the whole idea was, how do we help Black folk share their cultural heritage and identity in a way
Mhm.
that's receptive and engaging and creative and fun, with the local Chinese community and other expats that were there, right? There
Yeah.
were Russians in Beijing. There was all types of folks that were living in Beijing. And they all had this warped idea of Black people. And so I said, well, how do we challenge that and help them better understand us? And so, you know, like I said, the last 10 years of my life has been centered around that work, and it just keeps going.
Yes, I want to go back to what you were saying about the media. Two things. One, when Apple licked you twice. I don't know if you remember the movie from the 90s called Karina Karina. It was about the two girls. One was white, the other was Black, but the mom was like the maid of their house, and they were sitting on the steps or whatever, and they're eating ice cream. One had vanilla and one had chocolate, and the one girl licked the other girl. She's like, I want to see if you taste like chocolate. Like, it's kind of to your story. I think Karina had some powers too. Not like Matilda, but it was I was the link, but Karina made me think about that. And then also I find that a lot of people that are outside of America, you know, the influence of American music, the influence of film and everything. When I ask people that, oh, how did you learn your English, or how did you learn about Black culture? Oh, the TV.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like not even correct. It's like the worst examples of who we are as Black people, because I feel like before the age of social media, before the age of influencers, Black people were portrayed in negative lights, or even in TV and film, we were portrayed as like servants, house slaves, you know, below
drug
the
dealers, gang members, prostitutes.
Yes, like we were never seen in a light, you know, because we couldn't get these jobs because they didn't want us to have these jobs. They wanted us to have this narrative. So thankfully with the internet, you know, booming in the 90s, the 2000s, and now where we're at right now, we're able to showcase that, no, we're not these gangbangers, you know, our women aren't prostitutes, you know, we can be 6-figure business class, we could be doctors, we could be magazine owners, you know,
we're all those things,
all these things, just like any other race. You know, we can be smart, we can make smart decisions. We do have people that make dumb decisions and are criminals, but that's in every race. So it's really interesting that, you know, the perspective of Black people from in China, at least, is very similar to my encounters from around the world. It's interesting. And I know sometimes I want to say, like, are you guys living under a rock? Like, I know like you guys watch TV, but like now with the media and so much, like not everyone is like this at all. So
and it goes to show, you know, I know we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of hip hop. But I think, first of all, it brings me a lot of joy to see the influence that hip hop has had on the world, and how it has been able to communicate Black experiences and Black stories to a global stage and a global audience. But you mentioning some of the experiences you've had made me think of a conversation I had last week with a 26-year-old dude from Venezuela. He literally walked from Venezuela to the US. Literally,
that's a long walk. How many months was that?
He did it. It was over the span of 8 months. He was trying to. He stopped in Colombia for a while, trying to find work. Peru, Ecuador, Panama, I think Nicaragua, Guatemala, Mexico, and then I think he arrived to the US. And so we got in a conversation. He was sharing a story about, you know, him essentially being a refugee and just trying to find asylum in the US, and the dangerous trek he had to go, you know, take to get here. And I'm listening to him, and he's listening to Tupac, blasting it one day, just blasting it. I'm like, bro, so what do you know about Tupac? He's like, bro, I grew up on Tupac and Biggie and 50 Cent. You know, his English is broken, but he's well versed
and
on hip hop and all the lyrics. And he's telling me how it taught him English. And what it reminded me was that hip hop has been an effective tool in communicating Black stories and experiences, but it has also been an effective tool in exporting a certain image of Black people,
Yeah.
which, rappers, gangbangers, Black women are prostitutes, or just dancers and things like that, because that's
Mm.
all the type of, they're not receiving Jill Scott, Neo Soul,
Yeah.
or Erykah Badu type shit, right? They're
No.
receiving 50 Cent, Tupac, and all of those things. And so it's hip hop and the influence always comes up in these types of conversations, because it's been a dual sword for us. Great in communicating our message, but not so great in communicating who we actually are as a mass.
Yes, it's like the representation from an American standpoint, the representation is there. Now we have music that we can relate to, because it's our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
However, if you're not Black American and you're listening in from the other side of the world, you have like this one perspective, and we're just not this perspective at all. Like we're much greater than what it is. And I'm always curious how people learn English through music and film, because listen, my Spanish, I be speaking Spanish songs and everything. I know all the words, but I don't know what they mean. Really,
what they mean. I can't put sentences together. Listen, that's how it was with my Chinese, my Mandarin.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I feel like Spanish, it's easy to replicate the words, or like very, the little R's and the N's. But I think like English is just like, I feel like English would be harder to get the words and everything. It must just be me, because
you know what someone told me? I have a homegirl who's Senegalese, and I met her in Beijing, and we're all in this WhatsApp group together. We still stay connected, and she reminded me a couple of days ago. She speaks like 8 languages and like 15 dialects. Like legit speaks 8 languages and 15 dialects. And when we were in China, I struggled with my Mandarin. Her and my other friends who were born in Africa and raised in Africa, not so much. And when I got down on myself, they would always say, Leroy, here's the difference. In America, you don't grow up around a variety of languages. You're not immersed in a variety of languages. It's English, maybe Spanish, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
And in Senegal, at least for her, she grew up around 4 or 5 different languages.
So it's easier to pick up the dialect.
As a child, she was already immersed in several different languages. So her brain was wired to pick up languages and dialects like it was nothing. And that context, I was like, oh, okay, that fucking makes sense. I'm not slow. It's just like, it's just different for us. We didn't grow up around multiple freaking languages, or it wasn't reinforced and encouraged for us at such a young age.
Our little one semester of Spanish
or French. Spanish, right?
You don't use it after that. You don't use it. Hola, and you're not using it, so it's just like, why are we?
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. So, what ways do you believe group influences, expat groups influences the self-perception of travelers, particularly those of African descent?
I really appreciate this question, because I think it can speak to the power that expat groups have. And I think this also kind of relates to Kelly's question to you. It's like, Heather, in your opinion, how is Blackness received in Portugal? And the example that I always give to people is, again, I'm in Beijing and I launched Black Gin. And at this point, Black Gin has been going on for a year and a half. And we received all type of media coverage, magazine features, so on and so forth. And one day I was sitting in a coffee shop, and this Black woman walks in. She's like, hey, I know you. I had never met this woman before in my life. And she's like, I just moved here from Atlanta. I took a teaching job, and I was incredibly nervous on my plane. I didn't know where I would get my hair done. I didn't know if I'd be the only Black person there. I didn't know if I would have any community. And she said, I opened up the magazine and I saw Black Gin, and I saw you in the magazine, and I saw what y'all was doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's us doing things like that. That's dope. I have a community there. So I think when it comes to what power of influence do expat groups have in helping other travelers sort of articulate or develop this sort of identity abroad, it's that very thing. Your mere existence in these places communicates to us and everybody else, it is possible. I can adapt to this. You spoke to it earlier. Before the age of social media, perhaps there were massive expat communities like we see today, but you didn't see that because social media didn't exist. And so you
Yeah.
would have thought, or our parents rather, or our grandparents would have thought, ain't no Black people out in Portugal. But
Mhm.
now, right now, today, with the availability of social media, but not only that, you all are hella active and
Yeah.
vocal about your experiences in these places. And so you play such a powerful role in helping travelers essentially say, I can do that. I can be
Mhm.
there, I can live there, I can adapt, I can thrive in these places. And that is just so critically important to a group of people who have seldomly traveled in the way that others have, or have rather have been allowed to travel or encouraged to travel in a way that other race-based groups have been. And Black folk, we are a communal people. We live
Mhm.
by word of mouth. So if I see one of mine doing it and they're giving me the look, I'm like, okay, bet. I'm gonna go out here and at least try it. Case in point, your mom.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
I think it's really important because I don't know. I can only speak about the Black community, but I'm
Mhm.
sure this happens in all different ethnic
Mhm.
communities. It's like we get so comfortable in our
Mhm.
own little bubbles. We're
Mhm.
comfortable with, we know we're going to have a job, we lose a job, we have unemployment, we know that we have family close by, we have friends, we have
Mhm.
everything that we could possibly need or can possibly go wrong. We can be comfortable in this struggle area. But I find that when we want to do something outside of that comfort area,
Mhm.
our friends and families are not as supportive.
No.
It's like the fear,
No.
they throw fear at you,
They
or
don't understand it.
people aren't going out there, or you'll be away from family, you'll be away from friends, throwing all these things your way. And I
Yeah.
always tell people, like, if you want to move abroad, you need to surround yourself, or travel abroad, you need to surround yourself with people that are actually doing it, not the people
Yeah.
that have never left their city, don't
Yeah.
even have a passport, never even looked up, where Portugal is, because everyone thinks Portugal's in
Mhm.
Spain. It's like, I do feel like people, like, we do want to see ourselves exceed and go
Mhm.
places, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like that gray area, the unknown. Like, we're
Mhm.
not going to support people going into the unknown because we don't know
Yeah.
if they're going to succeed. We don't want to hype them up and then they get there and it's a disappointment, which
Yeah.
leads into why it's important to really connect with these Black spaces, these Black
Mhm.
groups, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
Reddit. People sleep on Reddit all the time. Reddit has
Yeah.
a lot of good threads going on.
Man, I've been
Uh,
trying to get on Reddit.
Reddit, it's good. I like Reddit.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's a great way, even if you meet one person, and at least when you're going to this new country visit, at least one person that might have lived there or might be there at the same time you're living, to get a better experience. So being able to share our stories or
Mhm.
share about your experience in a certain city or what you did really helps people know, like, yes, hey, there are people out there. There are Black people in Wuhan. I'm
Yeah.
like, who's
Yeah.
living in Wuhan? I'm in that Facebook, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know what's still in there, but I was being
Yeah.
nosy. I was just
They
like,
are. They
that's
are
where
out there.
COVID came from. They're out there living. I was really curious, but they have a rugby team out there. Like, they do
Uh-huh.
events and everything. Black in Wuhan. Okay, it
Yeah,
may
yeah.
not be Black in Wuhan, but it's a Wuhan expat group. And you would have never
Wow,
known,
Joe.
like, unless you looked, unless you heard, unless you talked to someone. And with so many different Black expat groups popping up, there's really no reason why, like, you cannot connect with one single person,
Mhm.
or you cannot get the information. Some groups are like super active. Some groups are not as active. And I think I shared this in our WhatsApp group, Leroy. I made a whole PDF file of over 130 Black communities globally that people
What?
can join. Yes. I think you probably missed that.
I
Yeah.
did. Nigga, I need that. I
Yes,
need
when I was in Japan back in April. I was bored in the hotel. Just like,
man.
okay, all these little lists. So I made this PDF that is free to help people find these communities. Also, there's mental health resources for Black people that is within this PDF that I
This
created.
video, bro.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
That's
really,
amazing.
yeah, because there's nothing out there. There's nothing, when I see there's a need for something, I'll
Yeah.
always create something. If I can't
Yeah.
find it. And there isn't just one place where you can find all these communities, because not every community is Black in. Some are Black sit, some are African Americans in whatever, Africans in whatever, or Black people. It's just, there's so many different titles, but there are lots of communities out there.
You
Yes,
you know
Kelly,
why? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I mean, go ahead, Heather. I'm sorry.
um, Kelly, I will put the link in the description after this live is over so you can come back to it. But yes, please feel free to share it. And it's a great resource, especially for those that are traveling or wanting to move abroad.
You know why that's such a powerful document? I mean, we just launched we're getting ready to launch in October the Travel to the Ballot
Yeah.
voting campaign drive, encouraging Black expats and travelers to vote no matter where you're at. And one of the pieces of information we want, or rather need, is how many Black expats actually live abroad. The challenge is the State Department does not track that.
Yeah.
They just know, hey, you've left the U.S., but they don't know how many expats actually live abroad. I think I read last week that the Democratic Party has actually invested $100,000 in trying to engage 9 million American expats abroad. But we don't know how many of those 9 million are Black expats.
Yeah.
Right? And so the PDF you've curated is a powerful document, not only helping people to get, like you say, connected to these communities as they travel and go, but then also to let's say someone, sort of like what we're trying to do right now, wanted to engage the global Black community around one initiative. Now I have a document that tells me where all those communities are, and I can reach out to them to see if they're interested in getting on board with this. Think about a global Black community connected and aligned on a particular issue. That is insanely powerful, considering the cultural influence that we as Black people already have around the world. Man, great job. That's a story. So I'm gonna need that document so I can write a story about it.
I will send it to you in a text. But yes, and that's what the community is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's something powerful. And I know that there's always, it seems to be not a lot of representation of the average Joe person moving abroad, not the people that make 6 figures a year,
not
the people that have an inheritance or their job is moving them. I'm talking about the regular people that are just like, I have maybe $2,000 a month coming in. Where can I move?
Where can I
or
move to?
I'm a freelancer, or I might be a digital nomad and I'm not making 5-6 figures a year, So it's I think when we're able to see people that look like us, that have similar stories, it's really important. For myself, I haven't worked since 2016, almost 10 years now. I'm a veteran, I get my little pension. And when I saw other veterans, like there's so many different veterans here. And it's just like, wow, we're all living, most of us are living off our pensions, we're not working, we're not making all this extra money. So seeing other people that are doing it, that are still getting their health care, getting everything, that's inspirational. Because I'm just like, people told me, don't leave the US because I have health issues and you need to be close to the VA. And I'm over here living my best life, getting the best healthcare.
Best healthcare.
And here in Portugal, I've always had extremely good healthcare outside of America, So that's it's really, really important.
Yeah.
And I love how you're sharing. You're sharing, just like I said, just regular people that are out there just living their best lives, sharing their stories, giving other people inspiration, especially the community builders as well that are building communities across the globe.
Yeah, man. Y'all are doing it.
Yes. So how do the interactions within the expat communities help individuals navigate the complexities of race and identity in a foreign land?
Oh, this was a good question. And it's a timely one, because if there's any readers out there, I highly recommend this book.
All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. Oh, I never heard of that one before.
This is one of those books you wonder, why did we not study this when we were in school? Maya Angelou, it's about her life in Ghana. She was 33 when she moved to Ghana. And this is essentially her talking about that. I think she was there for a year or 2 years. I'm almost done with the book. But this is her essentially talking about it. And I just finished the chapter where Malcolm X comes to Ghana. And man, just to sit here and read the words of Maya talk about that entire experience of Malcolm coming and what that did to the Ghanaian people, but also the Black American expats there. It was just so rich. It felt so good to be able to read their experiences through their
Mm,
words. But to speak more directly to your question, one of the things I found fascinating earlier in this book was how Black American expats who lived in Ghana were struggling to adapt
mhm,
because their perception of how Africans, or in particular this case, Ghanaian people, would receive Black Americans was very different than what actually happened to them when they got there. It
mhm.
wasn't a red carpet. It wasn't a parade. Hey, Black Americans. It wasn't any of that. It was, you're here. How are
Yeah.
you going to contribute?
Mhm.
And it wasn't malicious. It wasn't them being mean. It was like, hey, we are Ghanaian people. We have our own things to deal with for
Yeah.
Ghana. We're happy that you're here,
Mhm.
and you have to figure out where you fit in that. And one of the things, one of the stories that stood out was it was this young Black couple who were like your pro-Black revolutionaries. They had just moved to Ghana, and they were very displeased with the lack of pompous
Yeah.
that did not come about their arrival. And Maya and several other Black expats who had been there already had to educate them and say, hey, it's not that the Ghanaian people are being rude to you, but
Mhm.
you're trying to come in and you want this particular job,
Yeah.
but Ghanaians first. They have to look out for their own first.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so that took all of them through that. Several times throughout the book, Maya Angelou is asking herself, so what is my African identity?
Mhm.
What is Africa to me in the context of a Black American who now lives here? You know, what does that relationship look like? And I think when it comes to expats and the interactions that they're having with culture and people, you get a chance to understand the nuances behind some of these beliefs that they have and these behaviors. And so you can better articulate why Ghanaians, in this case, believe what they do and treat Black Americans the way that they are. It has nothing to do with the fact that they don't like us.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with the fact that it is self-preservation.
Mhm.
They also have to care for their own as well. And they're more than happy to make space and room for you. And they do several times throughout the book, but you are not a priority.
Yeah.
Right. And so that then forces you, as someone who has moved to this country, what is your place in there? How does race and identity impact your experience in this place or in Portugal? You know, and like I said, for me in China, it was, oh, Chinese people are not anti-Black.
Mhm.
Chinese people just have a very warped idea of Black people.
Yeah.
And so because I've experienced that, I can now communicate the nuances behind that to someone who may be, I don't want to go. No, it's not hate. This is how you navigate it,
Mhm.
right? This is how you adapt. This is how it's going to impact your understanding, your Western idea of race and your Western idea of identity. Is going to take some adaptation, some time, and some patience on your end. But please don't approach it with this idea that these people are anti-Black. Not to say that's not a thing, but it's
Mhm.
not always the thing.
Yes, and how we perceive ourselves in the US as Americans
Mhm.
or the Western side is way different.
Way different. And for
Way
some of
different.
us, we carry that Western entitlement.
Yes.
You know, we've been socialized in the
Yeah.
US too. You mentioned it earlier. Americans are number one, the US is number one.
Mhm.
And to think that we as Black people, even though we have our issues with with the US, that's well documented, but to then think we don't carry those Western and entitled ideas about ourselves, about our American identity, is nonsense. You're socialized in it. You were educated in it. Of
Yeah.
course, you're going to carry that with you. We saw that with Liberia and the Black American expats who went, you know, that whole story, that whole history. And so the work for us and those who are traveling in expats is to undo some of that learning and
Mhm.
make room and space for new learning and new ideas and new growth.
And having an open mind too, and
Mhm.
not the American way is not the only way.
It's not the only way. It's
Yeah.
not the only way. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yes. No, but thank you for sharing this. So it's so important, and it's kind of really when I think about, I've come across a lot of people since, living abroad and traveling.
Mhm.
And I remember I came across this one woman. She was American. And I remember asking her, this was like right around the time I moved to, I never met her in person
Yeah,
until later
yeah.
on, but she was just like, yeah, I don't plan on learning Portuguese. I'm expecting all the Portuguese people to speak English to me. And
No, stop. She didn't say that,
then
Heather.
in there, I was just like, I can never be friends with this girl. Like
Heather, no, stop. She
at
didn't say
all.
that.
I promise you, she said that. And
Was she white?
you know she was. You know she was. That's why I didn't say if she was white or black, but you know she was.
Wait, the only reason I had to ask that is it just reminds me of landing in Vietnam,
Yeah.
and I'm in the passport line. I think, or getting my visa checked, and I think the visa was like $25
Yeah.
USD, 25 USD. And this white dude is in front of me, man. White American boy. And he's pissed off that he has to pay $25 for a Vietnamese visa.
$5.
And I'm like, bro, do you understand what our country did?
Yeah.
You're lucky we're allowed in this goddamn country. Not only did we like literally destroy generations of Vietnamese people through the Vietnam War, but do you also understand what Vietnamese people have to go through in order to get into the US?
Yeah.
They're not paying only 20. Come on, bro. Like, but it's that sense of entitlement. Which you see that a lot with white travelers and expats. It's just it's whiteness.
It's weird.
It's whiteness. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The entitlement. I feel like it's. I mean, we're not even as entitled as Black Americans in America, but still, like, most of us do not wear our entitlements.
We don't wear it
on our sleeves. I mean, really, like, people think Americans are just rich anyway.
Just
even here,
my
American friend. I'm like, do not call me your American friend. Like, I don't have all this American money. We don't come over here and we're not balling out of control. Yeah, it's very interesting. Those people that like to do those things. And
my rich American friend, I hated it when they called me. They kept calling me an American playboy in Kenya. Oh my gosh, I hate it. I was like, we're not all. No, please don't put that out there.
Hey, you never know. You might have some pictures out there in some Playboy magazine.
Somewhere in Nairobi, Mombasa.
All right. So what potential do you see in collabs between expat groups and local tourist boards?
This is a topic that I've been on a lot quite lately, and I just wanted to pull up some notes I had about it real quick.
Okay.
But I just think I've really been pushing this conversation forward, talking with other expats like yourself about it, and it's that thing of you just got to keep talking about it if you're that passionate about it, and people will catch on. But I wholeheartedly believe that international destination groups are not only perhaps wasting a ton of money, but losing out on a ton of marketing and experiences opportunities by not collaborating more with expat groups. And again, it goes back to you all understand the culture and the people in a way that I, as a traveler, don't understand in regards within the context of Portugal. And so when you talk about engaged communities, you mentioned it yourself. Y'all are not these sort of loosely connected individuals. You all are this tight-knit community, both online and offline, that are deeply embedded within the culture and the lifestyle of Portugal. And so as a result of that, if you are a destination that is trying to connect with Black American travelers and better understand their travel needs, preferences, and what have you, and then you want to communicate why they should come to your destination, what better group to work with than an expat group, as opposed to a lone travel influencer who's only going to be there for a couple of days, who you have to spend thousands of dollars to bring out. And I know some people, some of the pushback is, well, you're taking opportunities out of the pockets of other Black travel influencers. I'm not really, because what I'm advocating for is, how do you position expat groups to be the voice and the facilitator of more opportunities for Black travel influencers, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to negotiate and reach out to visit Portugal if I want to do a project, but I would love to be able to, hey, Heather, I got this dope idea. You mind connecting me to visit and facilitating that or what have
Mhm.
you? Boom. Now we're all winning and now we're all connected in that way. And so, just the fact that you all are engaged in the community, that's a huge benefit. The second one is you all curate year-round events.
Yeah.
I've always been so impressed with the events that you all are curated in Portugal and what they're doing out in Bali with all the
Yeah.
different types of festivals. Again,
Mhm.
as a Black traveler, I want to tap into that.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is Florida State University had a football classic in Dublin a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
And the South Carolina women's basketball team, Coach Don Staley, they had a game in Paris, I think it was. It was either Paris or I think it was Paris a couple of years ago. And Black folk traveled in droves
Yeah.
to both sporting events. And everybody was asking, hey, where the Black people at? Where's the Black
Mhm.
community at? Again, if you're a destination and these sporting events are coming to your city and
Yeah.
that these travelers want an authentic Black experience in your country, who better than to connect them with than a Black in Portugal spoken word event
Yeah.
or community event, right? And so again, that also saves them money on the back end. They should pay y'all for curating those experiences, but I would imagine it would be a lot less than what they would have spent, again, if they would have worked with an influencer. And then the last piece is just cost-effective marketing.
Mhm.
Again, work with expat groups. Black people are communal people. Word of mouth isn't very critical in the world of marketing.
Yeah, it is.
If I have an expat group that is comprised of various voices and experiences around your destination that are communicating to me the different types of things I can see, do, and places I can go and eat, and all the different types of experiences that I can have, you damn right that's gonna just pull me to this destination. And now you don't have to put so much money into market research. You don't have to put so much money in trying to connect with those travelers. Some of that you can, sort of reallocate back into supporting the Black expat groups. But there's just so many benefits and opportunities there for destinations to start to build those relationships with Black expat groups and communities. And I think one of the trends we may see in travel in the future is that very thing. DMOs deciding, okay, how do we work better with expat groups to bring more travelers to our destination?
Wow. And this ties into my next question about what are some examples of how destinations could benefit economically by engaging more with the local expat community?
Yeah, exactly that. I think economically, when you're going to save money, I think Ireland, I think I shared in a post a couple of days ago, Ireland last 2023 spent $375,000 on influencer marketing. And that's USD,
That's like
375K.
a house. Like,
Nigga, like,
yeah.
could you imagine just a fraction of that being invested into expat communities
Yeah.
for marketing and event and collaboration opportunities in a way
Even
that
50
makes sense?
would be more than
50K,
enough.
more
And
than
we don't
enough.
see any of that. We don't see any of that, especially like I've reached out to people and brands, and it's always like they're not interested or they don't respond back. And I'm just like, I mean, I don't have Black in Portugal does not have a huge following. Yes, we
Yeah,
have like
yeah,
20K ish.
yeah.
The Facebook group has like 23K. Have a great email marketing. A lot of people in email marketing, the newsletter and everything. But I'm just like, what are y'all really looking for? Like, are
Exactly.
you looking for someone who has the aesthetics and might share about a hidden gem that will be outrun by all these tourists, or to share a hotel? No, you should be looking for people that are here that are constantly bringing multiple people here, like daily. People are arriving in Portugal. People are coming throughout the year. And yes, we could filter your brand, your whatever. People are always looking for hotels, for example.
Yeah.
Best hotels. And I'm just like, well, I personally don't know because I don't stay in a hotel. But I reached out to Hilton. I reached out to some boutiques and everything. Like, just give me like 2 nights stay. I'll come to Porto. I'll go down to Algarve. I'll get there my own way. And just like, let me stay in one of your hotels, give an honest review, and then filter back to my people because people are always looking. Same thing with Airbnb. I'm just like, there's not enough Black-owned hotels or Airbnb
Yeah.
in Portugal. I know Amon and Christina from our Rich Journey. They have two really cute. I think it's two. They have a tiny home and they have like a villa in Portugal. And then there is a local woman. I forget where she's from, but she has an Airbnb on the other side of the river. So it's not really. These are not really like close to city center Lisbon or anything like that.
Okay.
So, but for people that have access, like there's not enough places, Airbnbs, for me to say, hey, let me recommend this, let me recommend that. So it's really crucial that these big companies that have the budget, they have the money to blow, should be reaching out, or should be not even reach out, should really want to connect with expat groups that have a growing community that are always bringing people here.
Yeah, man. And again, I think it's one of those things where the more voices you get behind it, and this goes back to the PDF that you curated and the work that Black Travel Alliance and Future of Black Tourism are trying to do in terms of, well, specifically in the case of Future of Black Tourism, serving as the advocacy voice for Black travelers, influencers, and businesses in DC. And I think that work will eventually extend to international destinations.
Yeah.
And then lobbying for them to work closely with Black expat communities, because you all shouldn't do all the work yourself. You shouldn't have to advocate alone. Yeah. None of us should have to. This is the purpose of community. And this is the purpose of each of us having a particular role in this work. Some of us are in media. Some of us are in business. Some of us are in advocacy. We all have a role to play. And some of us are community builders. We all have a role to play, and each role means something significant and it's important to the overall work. And so I just believe, in the future of travel and tourism, in terms of, you talk about a trend, I very much believe that DMOs will shift at some point and start to work more closely with Black expats and communities in these different destinations. It just makes sense.
So. Yeah. I hope the change comes sooner or later. Listen,
we're gonna keep pushing for it. We're gonna keep talking about it.
We got to put me in a boardroom. I got my I'm ready. Give me just let me tap into. I mean, I'll take a little 10K to start off with, and I'll
right.
Hey, it's not that's you make that in your sleep. Every time you blink in your sleep, you're making 10K. All these big companies.
I do want to know, like, when you ask, if you do, and you ask, like, what is it you all are looking for? I would love to want to know what they say.
So
go ahead.
No, I look for brands that, one, are interested about the Black community and wouldn't mind sponsoring events. One year we had Amazon sponsor us for a mixer for Web Summit. And although I think we got like $1,000, it was, thank you for your $1,000. It was nice because the woman, Tiffany, she started like this Black sector in Amazon, and she was running it, and she believed in what we were doing for the community. There was the BIA, Black Innovative Alliance. I don't know if you know that.
No.
One of their members, I went to a dinner, and the guy just asked me, well, what do you do here? And I was just like, oh, Black in Portugal, and gave him the synopsis of it and everything. And he was like, okay, just send me an invoice. And I'm just like, for what? He's like, I'm gonna give you $1,000 here. And this was just like at a dinner, just literally randomly talking to this random guy. And he just gave me $1,000. He like PayPal me $1,000 right there on the spot. But with bigger companies, what I'm finding is like they want to see like your analytics, they want to see your engagement, they want to see all this stuff. And yes, I can prove all this stuff because we have the engagement, we have the analytics, but it may not be to their standards what they want to see. I feel like they want to see what are they going to get out of it. And I'm just like, sometimes you got to start small. Like not everyone is going to have 110K, 57,000, but what I do know is that people are constantly coming here to Portugal. There was, what else did I reach out to? Oh, there's a guy named Chemo that is the founder of My OMEC. I don't know if you saw my story back in June. I went to Amsterdam to their summit. And also Marty was there from the ABC Green Book. She was she and I were both at attendance to this event. And I just had a meeting with him and his wife because I was asking about sponsorships because they had Nike, they had Patagonia, they had Decker Brands, they had all these big sponsors. And I was asking like, hey, like what, can I get the 411? Like, how are you guys getting sponsors? And I was asking the sponsors themselves. So what is your relationship, your business relationship with OMEC? I straight out asked them because I want to know. And what was great about them is that they have it set up. I mean, it didn't, for them, they said it wasn't like overnight. It took like, years to get these partnerships.
Those partnerships.
Pretty much when their companies need like Black representatives, Black spaces they need to fill, like they have the community for these Black, for these companies to come in and interview and find the talents that they're looking for. And I'm sorry, Omega is a bicultural community based out of Amsterdam.
Okay.
It was really amazing. So I had a meeting with the Cass is the wife's name, and Chemo, and they were just really being straightforward and telling me like what they asked for, who they spoke to, the type of not grant, but the type of the person or the team or the area of the company that you need to ask for.
Yeah.
And they really gave me some really powerful insights because I don't have a clue. I've never had like a real sponsor before. So I'm just like Googling things, seeing what other influencers are posting. But just like, I really do appreciate Tess and Chemo because I've talked to other influencers, people that say they want to help you and everything. But they want to charge like all this crazy amount of money. And I'm just like, I could see if I wanted one-on-one coaching, but I feel like maybe just a simple, hey, I just talked to these people, this is the step you should go. Nothing that should have been like in depth or want to charge me like hundreds of dollars for consultation. Like all I just want to know was all
I want to know is just a contact. Can I just get one contact?
Yeah, that's it. Just something simple. But I feel like sometimes we like gatekeep.
We get to a certain level and folks feel like now they have to.
Yeah. And it's just, we can all win and we can all sit at different tables and still win. Your demographics are different than mine. My audience is different than yours. And that's why like, I don't mind going out my way, helping anyone, coming abroad, answer questions, people in my inbox on Facebook and everything. Yeah, I don't mind answering like basic questions, but if it's something that's like in depth and you're asking me like 15, 20 questions, okay, now you can pay for my time.
That's different. Yeah.
But just like a simple question, it's just like, it just makes things harder, especially for communities. I mean, my community is not as small, but for small communities to really get the sponsorship, to really get seen, to work with bigger brands, because we don't have the support that we need. And for myself, like I don't know the ins and outs of reaching out to brands or anything like that. But now I do, thank you to my OMEC community. But
that's dope.
We need to be seen more. There's so many communities out there that are doing big things, that are coming out of pocket, that wish they had the support for sponsorship. Or sponsor a networking event, sponsor something. Like you don't have to give us money all the time, but at least if you just pay for something,
a space,
something like that. And even for Juneteenth, I tried to reach out to the embassy. I reached out to them on Instagram. They said, yes, contact this person, they'll be able to help you more. Reach out to that person once or twice, never heard anything back. And I thought it was weird because they just did 2 events. They did like a gospel event, and then they actually had the woman that we met at the Black Travel Expo. She's on the tourism board. I forget what her name was.
Stephanie Jones?
Yes, I believe it's her. She had a really good speech. She was out in Portugal. I'm pretty sure it was her. She was out in Portugal, and they did like an event. And I'm just like, why didn't they ask Black in Portugal to support this event or collab or anything? I'll send it to you, but it's just little things like that. That I think it's weird that it's not like Black in Portugal is like this hidden thing, like people know about it, but for you like to not even want to even respond back to an email saying, hey, we're not interested at this time, or maybe we don't have the funding. It's like next time we just show up at their office and knock on the door at the embassy.
Nick, that's what you gotta do sometimes.
I got no appointment, but I'm gonna knock and be like, listen, we have Juneteenth coming up. And we're gonna need some spaces because
Yeah.
this past year there was a lot of people there, and next year it's gonna be even more people.
More
So
people. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wild, wild west out here sometimes, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Yes. So I know we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you a few more questions
Sure.
if you have the time. I know we're about 6 minutes
Yeah, you
over. But with the changing landscape of travel, what adjustments do you think expat groups need to make to stay relevant?
good. It's I think one of the things that I about 2-3 months ago, I did like a 10-year review of the different types of trends throughout the travel industry. So every 10 years, you see new trends starting to take shape and form. And what's interesting was
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, influencer marketing wasn't a thing, which makes sense because social media wasn't that popular. Um, and then 10 years ago, influencer marketing was the whole rate. And now travelers want more authentic experiences. They want authentic voices. And I think that has always remained authenticity, authenticity. And so I think in order to stay relevant, and you need to figure out what is your role? Where do you want to position yourself within the travel journey of travelers as an expat group? What do you want to be a communicator? Do you want to be a facilitator of events? Do you want to be a media company? Like clearly identify what that is and what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, and then continue to share and show these authentic experiences. I think this platform here is a great example of that. Anyone can tap in and enjoy one of your interviews that you've had to learn about what that experience is like in Portugal or any other country, based on the person you may be interviewing. So I think remaining authentic and just continuing to share your story, the way that people travel and what they'll be looking for in terms of their travels, those things will always change,
Yeah.
you know. But what won't change is the need and desire for authentic experiences
Mm-hmm.
and authentic and engaging storytelling. Those things won't change at all. And I think as the travel industry continues to grow and more of us continue to get out there, a collection of authentic Black travel stories that
Mm-hmm.
can serve right as a motivator, as an inspiration, and as a connector, is always going to remain relevant. And so the stories that you all are collecting and building, as it pertains to Portugal, are always going to remain relevant and needed because that's what people are looking for. So authenticity, stories. I know these things sound cliche, but they just work, and
Yeah.
they've always just worked because people we that's what we seek out. We want to know what,
Mm-hmm.
because authenticity is just reviews.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they are. If you've been authentic, you're just giving an honest review about your experience in this place, and people connect with that. And then the storyteller piece you mentioned, many of us don't see ourselves in these places still, even with the
Yeah.
Black travel movement.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a desire for more of us to see ourselves in these spaces. And I think so authenticity, storytelling, and I think one other thing that comes up for me quite often, and was one of the reasons I started this company, was helping the next generation of travelers. And by that I mean high school and college students. I don't care if it's hey, Black in Portugal once a week is going to talk to an American high school and the Black students there that may be interested in traveling. Hey, we'll sit there for 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and ask all the questions that they may have, right? Or coming together and creating a Black in Portugal travel scholarship. Hey, every year we give out $1,000 scholarship to an HBCU student, right? That's how you
Mm-hmm.
remain relevant, and that's how you
Yeah.
deeply embed yourself within the culture, because you have to give
Mm-hmm.
something back, but you have to do it in a way that's aligned with your values.
Yeah.
And I think helping the next generation of potential travelers there, I had a kid 2 weeks ago. I had someone reach out to me. She texted me. She said, "Hey, Leroy, one of my students, Tim, young black dude, just accepted an internship in Italy, and he's so nervous about the racism, and he's just nervous.
Yeah.
Would you mind speaking with him?" And I knew Tim because when I used to work in politics, I worked with the youth on political initiatives, so I knew Tim. He worked with me, and so I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I'll come and sit down with him." And I sat down with Tim for about an hour, and I said, "Hey, this is what my experience was like in Ethiopia and China. These are the experiences of some of the Black folk I know who live in other countries around the world, Italy included. This is what you will face. This is how you can adapt. You can do this. It'll be different. It'll be challenging, but you can do this." And the kid walked away with just so much.
Really?
Okay, I got it. Okay, I can do this. And so I think for us specifically at our community, it's going to take that. Because again, many of us are coming from communities and families who don't have those experiences and who are actively convincing them not to take on those new experiences and opportunities. So one of the best ways is to remain relevant is to figure out how you can give back to the community.
Yes. Especially like you said, the youth.
The youth.
Are going to be taking over when we're long and gone, know.
And they want to get out there. Like I think about black communities and our relationship with anime. I speak to so many Black kids that talk about, man, I would love to go to Japan or Tokyo, Tokyo one day. But I don't know if anybody out, I was like, hey, there are Black in Tokyo, like we're out there, bro. Like, we're going there, we're traveling there. You can do it. You'll be all right. There's community for you out there. And not for nothing, you're Black in America. You've dealt with worse shit. You've dealt with worse things, so, but yeah, so giving back to the community in a way that aligns with their values, I think is one of the ways you can remain incredibly relevant as, changes will inevitably happen throughout the travel industry.
Yes, no, that's really good. And I never thought about scholarship for Black in Portugal. I know my cousin Gwen, she has a foundation that was, I guess her and her mom had started it. Maybe it was like passed down from generation to generation, but she gives scholarships to kids that get A's on the report card. So if they're in high school, then they get a certain amount of money, but if they're in college, then they get like a scholarship money to help pay for tuition or help pay for whatever they might need to offset the cost that they have to pay out of pocket. So my niece applies for a scholarship every year, and like she gets money. People from the local community in North Carolina, their kids have gotten money as well. So you also have to like write a letter. It's not just
sponsor that.
Yeah. So it's like you have to do more than just like your report card. Like you have to write a letter, get like a recommendation. It's like a whole package, but it's really good to know that there are some organizations out there that are still giving to the youth. But I really, really wish that I knew of more organizations that spoke to college student, high school students that are wanting to move abroad, and live abroad. I find that, I haven't looked that hard, but just from like my algorithm and just like in these Facebook groups, I'm not seeing much of anything geared towards like the younger, like fresh out of high school, fresh out of college. Most of it is just like people that are older. They already got their degrees. They're over here moving abroad, but really giving inspiration to say, hey, you don't have to go in debt in the US just to be able to get a job to move abroad. There's teaching, there's freelancing. Most jobs today, you don't even have to have a degree, just to get like Google certificates and like your experience, you work yourself up. There's so many different ways, and COVID definitely changed the game when it comes to remote work.
Yeah.
So there's always something out there. But yeah, I'll definitely talk to you about that offline. But I know we're at the end. I know we didn't get through all the questions, but I really did appreciate your perspective on everything. I know that there were a few questions. Dr. Yaz said that she is in Lisbon attending a conference that started today. Welcome to Lisbon. And if you are here this weekend, I'm hosting a lunch at a local Cape Verdean restaurant.
See, look at that.
You can find information in our Facebook group or on the Nas app. Kelly Beard. I'll answer this question really, really quick. We're in Portugal. We all know the transatlantic slave trade. For those that don't know, that there are 5 other former Portuguese colonies here from Africa: Cape Verde, Sao Tome, Guinea-Bissau, Angola, and Mozambique. And I feel like Africans are not treated as fairly as the local population. There's lots of injustice, there's lots of racism and colorism here in Portugal. However, it's not to the same extent as it is in America. So hopefully that answers your question. James Williams, he arrives in Lisbon September 5th. How can I get in contact with you when we arrive? So you can stay in contact via the Facebook group Black in Portugal, or you can stay in contact with our WhatsApp group, which is through the Nas app. And you can find that on our Instagram or within the Facebook group. And hi, Wendy Greenhill. She didn't write anything but a few dots, but we see that you are here. Before we go, Leroy, can you tell everyone how to keep in contact with you, join your newsletter, find you on social media?
Yeah, so could definitely join our newsletter. You can go to culturetravels.co, www.culturetravels.co, to join our newsletter. I can drop that in here for you too.
Okay.
That is the digital platform for our, and actually I'm going to do one more thing to make it easy for everyone.
Okay.
Make sure I got the right link here.
And my dog is over here whimpering for his life.
And this is the link directly to our newsletter. What? It failed to post. They won't let me post that link. Okay, so I can send you that link, and we can share it out that way. But they can also access the newsletter through our website. And obviously, we're also Culture Travels Mag on IG. And I can drop that in there. Hopefully, let me drop this in here.
And all of this will be in the description after, so you'll be able to copy and paste as well.
But that's those are the primary places where folks can stay connected. And like I said at the top, we have a lot of really exciting things coming along. Two things I'll share. Our recent food story we did with Visit Richmond went really well. And the magazine has always been a start to what I have always visioned to be a media production and distribution company, essentially a Black travel network. Right. And so the next project we're working on is a pilot episode of a travel cooking show, where our food writer, she travels to different destinations, typically like what you see out there. She's trying to do different food, but then she comes home and she cooks the food for everybody to show them how to do it. Yeah. Because folks always ask, I want to eat that food. I want to eat it, but how do you do it? So, okay, we'll show you how to cook it, but also still encourage you to visit the destination. So we're going to host like a focus group, if you will, of folks, small group of people that can actually watch the episode and give us feedback before we go live with that. And then obviously the last thing that we have working on is the Travel to the Ballot campaign. Again, the cultural influence and wealth of Black travelers and expat communities, we wield so much power, and to be able to collectively get all of us out to the ballot, vote however you will, but let's show what our power looks like by encouraging everyone to travel to the ballot, and then also making sure folks like Stephanie Jones with Future of Black Tourism and Black Travel Alliance, they have the data and the support behind them, and support in this case looks like voters who they can then say, hey, they can go to DC and they can advocate for us more opportunities, better partnerships, etc., and say we got 50,000 Black tribal voters who are behind us, and they're willing to wield that power in any way they deem necessary if you don't support them and Black tribal businesses and Black expat groups better. And so that's the whole goal here. It's just to encourage us, galvanize us, get us together. Let's use our power collectively to really make an impact in this industry.
Yes, and you can vote from abroad too. Just because you're
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of America does not mean you cannot vote from abroad. And I will put that information as well as travel to the ballot. Travel to the ballot, is that the name
Travel
of
to
it?
the ballot, yeah.
Yes, travel to the ballot information. So if you would like to join the live or the webinar when that happens, I think this is upcoming this week. When is it? Or in October?
So we're going to be doing a series of interviews with expats like yourself. I'm actually thinking about doing a panel with.
Okay.
I got a lot of folks say, "Yeah, I want to do it." So I think I'm going to do a panel with expats, and I'm working on finalizing an interview with the former vice president of Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
To talk about how do American elections and politics impact her country. Because I think that's something else we don't consider as expats and as travelers. American politics and elections.
Well, I will be looking
Ripple
forward
effect.
to that
Yeah.
one because it's conversations that we don't have on a daily basis, and it does impact other countries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about that. So I'll make sure I get that lineup out to you. You can share with your people's community.
Perfect.
And yeah, man. More support, obviously, the more effective.
Yes. Well, thank you for everyone that tuned in. I hope this live was insightful. Hopefully, there were a lot of great takeaways. Leroy is an amazing person. He has a magazine. He has a few projects that are coming up that are really amazing. And when I tell you that he provides the representation that is needed to be seen, like that's what his business, his magazine, his social media is all about, highlighting Black culture, our experiences, our stories, and getting more people to not only travel, but move abroad as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. It's always a pleasure, man, connecting.
Yeah, so we will connect soon. I'm going live again every Sunday at the same time, 9 p.m., and looking forward to seeing you guys next weekend. So enjoy the replay. Check the description soon with all the information that we talked about in this live. Hey, ciao. Oh, once Leroy waves.